In this nitty-gritty prime time Let's Play live stream, we're going to be playing American Mah Jongg at Mahjong Time. If you've not tried playing at Mahjong Time yet, look for my email in the video description below. I can send you information on their 30-day VIP trial. I am an affiliate partner there, so if you decide to get a paid subscription, I will get a small commission, and I'm very thankful for that. I appreciate the support at Mahj Life, which leads me to my next acknowledgement. Thank you for watching my videos and for sharing about Mahj Life. Moderators, thank you so much for helping monitor the chat. And I also just want to say thank you to channel members for supporting Mahj Life. Today's topic is going to be on Hoptoi's strategy by wall, a phased approach to playing the game. If you have not heard about this, buckle up. I'm going to deliver a lot of content, but there's a lot in here that can help you improve your game. I guarantee it. So I'm going to get the slideshow ready, and we'll go into Hoptoi's strategy by wall. This is a nitty-gritty format, so we're going to limit socialization. Moderators, please help me with that, and thank you so much for stepping up to help monitor chat. Welcome to the live stream. Send you info on what? The 30-day VIP trial. It's in the video description below, or you can just go to Mahj Life and then click About Mahjong and then click Mahjong Time, and you'll find info there too. Thanks for asking, Elizabeth. All right, here we go. Yes, let's see. We have a couple of new fanatics, Lori, and there was another lady. I don't see her. Let's see here. From our last nitty-gritty, we have a couple of fanatic members. Thank you for joining. All right, I'm going to share this presentation now. All right, here we go. A phased approach to playing the game. And I think, for me anyway, when I first learned how to play this version, I played another version when I was younger, another American Mah Jongg version that was a little more like Hong Kong Mahjong, the original way to play the game. So I was on a bit of a learning curve, and as I was searching for information on how to play the American Mah Jongg game with the card, I at first didn't like it at all. I felt like it was very constrictive, and I didn't enjoy having to pick a hand on the card. And it took me a while to appreciate the nuances of the game. And over time, I've been able to research and find other strategies that people have written about, and then I've developed my own, which is what we're going to talk about today. When I first learned about strategy by wall, it was through Tom Sloper at Sloperama, but let me see here. I may be jumping ahead of myself. The reason why this is such a great strategy is because it really helps to increase focus. It also helps to minimize that feeling of being overwhelmed, and it also helps improve critical thinking. The whole idea behind strategy by wall is compartmentalization. Basically, it helps to divide the game into segments so that you can apply different tactics at different times depending on what is happening at the table. In Mahjong, it would mean compartmentalizing by adopting tactics based on the wall in play. So that's the compartmentalization, by the wall in play. So if you think about Mahjong, there's three actual phases of the game. There's the Charleston, which is a big part of the game. It's like the pre-game hand development accelerator. This is where you can exponentially improve your dealt hand going into the pick and discard phase of the game, which I call the play. And then you have the pay, which is where the winner would announce their hand and they would get paid for their achievement. So the Charleston is a really big part of the game. We're going to spend a lot of time there, but we're also going to talk about the play, which is where you pick and discard one tile at a time, and it's where the melding comes into play. So the first thing that I want to share is this shout out to Tom Sloper, because I first learned about strategy by wall when I found his website, and he's got a lot of articles. So it took me a while to find the information, but I did find a strategy article on strategy by wall, and it made sense to me. It really helped simplify the game for me. And I have I've adopted that strategy, and I've adapted it with my own ideas. So that's why I've titled this Hoptoi Strategy by Wall, because it is the way I learn and teach the game. But it's got its origins with Tom Sloper. So I just want to say shout out to Tom Sloper of Sloperama. With strategy by wall, you're going to deal through the first wall. So that's going to get depleted as you deal the tiles. And then once everyone has all their tiles, then you have a short wall left after that. And this then is when you do the Charleston, the pregame. This is when you have your hand development opportunities pass by pass. And this is where your hand is transformed from its original dealt status. You can really improve your dealt hand with the right decisions at the right time during the Charleston. That's why the Charleston is so powerful. After the Charleston, East discards to start the official game. Before this point, the game really hasn't even started yet. That Charleston is a pregame. So when East discards, that's the official mark of the game, the beginning of the game. So that's why this first wall, or the second wall, because the first wall went away when the tiles were dealt. The second wall is then the begin game. This is where we pick and discard from those first tiles. The middle game is the third wall, and the end game is the fourth wall. So we're going to talk about tactics for each of these stages of the game, starting with the Charleston. When you get your dealt hand, it's all, the focus should be on hand development, your own hand development. You're going to target the strength of the hand, and the strength of the hand is typically going to be multiples if you have them. That would be pair pung, for example. If you don't have multiples, identify the predominant pattern and play a category that uses most of your tiles. That would be targeting strength. That's the first step in hand development. Target strength. Then you're going to gather tiles for whatever category you've chosen, and gather tiles regardless of suit, because there are mixed suit options everywhere. So you target the strength of the hand, then you gather for your category, and eventually you start building, because American Mah Jongg is a game of multiples. So once you've gathered enough tiles, you can then start building so that you'll end up with one of the hands on the card. And then all along the way, you're going to defend. So this is the phases of hand development: target, gather, build, defend. So if you're in that initial phase of just targeting the strength of the hand, and then you move into gather, you could be in the gather mode for a while. And then once you have no gaps, you can really start building and focus on building. Sometimes some people may still be at the gather space where you're already building. And that's part of what we're going to talk about today. The purpose of the Charleston is to expedite hand development. It's to accelerate the process. So when you get your dealt hand, each player will have that opportunity to transform their hand with up to 21 tiles in 7 passes. And I do want to mention here briefly, and I did mention this in the first Nitty-Gritty Basics episode, that I've seen a trend of groups who omit the Charleston. And I just highly recommend against doing that, because the purpose of the Charleston is to expedite hand development. And it's designed to give you some flexibility, but you want to take advantage of it fully if you can. So omitting the second Charleston, for example, players believe that you're just going to see the same tiles. That's a huge assumption. And we all know what happens when you assume. I don't think I need to mention what happens when you assume. So the idea with the Charleston is to make every opportunity, take advantage of every opportunity to transform your hand through these passes. Up to 21 tiles in 7 passes. If you omit the second pass or the second Charleston, that's equivalent to a half a wall of picks. That's significant. So take advantage of the Charleston. It is a powerful accelerator for hand development. So when you're looking at your tiles and you're trying to decide how to proceed through the Charleston, just know that any person can stop it. But if you stop it and you're in between categories, you're really doing yourself a disservice. What you should do is choose your strongest option and let this other option go, because eventually you're going to need to make that decision anyway. Why not make it during the Charleston, when you can take advantage of all those tiles that you then will be able to look at and hopefully keep more tiles for the strongest option in your hand. So in this example, you could see we're in between like numbers or little odds. And you could probably play either one, but pick one and don't straddle two and stop the Charleston. It's better to keep going. So if we played little odds, we could also play like numbers depending on what comes in. So in this case, let's see, we have, so the discards would be marked in red, the yellow would be keepers. If we were to play like numbers, for example, if you happen to have some strength building, like here, we picked up a 1 bam, we could maybe play 1 3 5. Let's see, this would be the 6th hand down under odds, and we would be able to leverage every multiple. So instead of playing like numbers where we'd have to throw away a pair of 3s, leverage the strength of the multiples, because eventually you're going to need those multiples. So 1 3 5 in this case would be a really good choice to expedite hand development. All right, so now I want to talk about optimization. This is one of 3 tactics that you can use during the Charleston. With optimization, this is where you target multiples. As I shared before, American Mah Jongg is a game of multiples. So you want to target the strength. Multiples would be that strength. Let me pull up my live stream on my iPad so I can keep up with chat. Let's see here. 1 second, please. I don't know why I'm having a hard time. There we go. 1 second. Okay, there we go. All right, so now I can watch my presentation and catch up with chat. So I don't see any questions, so we're going to keep going. All right, so here, optimizing would be targeting the multiples. So you would then keep tiles that would support your multiples. In this case, we have mostly little odds. That would be optimizing hand development because you're targeting the multiples. But there's also consecutive run in here. You could do well either way. Just make a choice, but don't straddle. If you're during the Charleston and you're tempted to stop it because you're in between, it's better to pick your strongest option and let the second one go. So here, I would probably play consecutive run because it's much more flexible. And we're going to talk about that right now, because you might be asking, why? When you look at American Mah Jongg, no matter what year it is, it's all going to be about the same. Over the years that I've been doing analysis of American Mah Jongg cards, the categories or the attributes really stay the same. The numbers themselves might change a little bit, but with American Mah Jongg on the 2023 card, 84% of the hands use big multiples. That would be pair, or it would be pungs, kongs, and then even quints for those few hands in that category. There are 61% of pairs. So between pairs and the big multiples, little multiples, big multiples, you have all multiples all over the card. Even in the single and pair category, you have multiples, the pairs. So eventually you need to have multiples in your hand. That's why it's so important to target multiples and start there. So when you get your dealt hand, if you have multiples, let that drive the decisions. Target the multiple, keep tiles to support them, and play a category that will use most of your tiles. Focus on multiples. That's the American Mah Jongg game. Also, consider that there are 27% of the hands that use one suit, whereas mixed suits are in 69% of the hands on the card. So while you're focusing on multiples, make sure you're gathering all the suits for the category that you've chosen, because most of the hands are going to use mixed suits. Try not to be distracted by one suit options. Also, remember to pass defensively during the Charleston, because you're focused on developing your own hand, but you also are giving away tiles to your opponents. So you want to try to mitigate the risk. And in my opinion, these are the risky tiles that you would want to keep an eye on while you're making those decisions on what to pass. Like numbers is the top one. 40% of the hands on the card use like numbers. That's close enough to half the hands, in my opinion. And like numbers is almost as risky as passing a pair. It's one step down from passing a pair. So I highly recommend against passing like numbers. Now, if you're playing a hand that's really well developed and that's all you got, then it's worth the risk because you have a well-developed hand. But if you don't have a really strong hand, maybe you don't even know what you're playing yet, or maybe you have gaps, I would not pass like numbers. I would rather break up my hand a little bit to pass defensively until I have something stronger, to where I could then take the risk and it would be worth it. Also, there are flowers all over the card. So together between pairs and kongs, that's 44% of the hands on the card that use flowers. So flowers are very risky to pass as well. So pass defensively, focus on your own hand development. That would be the first priority. And then a close second would be to pass defensively. The next tactic that I want to share is to maximize. By maximizing, this would be using most of the tiles in your hand. This is a good tactic if you don't start with multiples, like if you have what I call a wide spread, basically no multiples, you have a very wide selection of single tiles. You want to look for the predominant pattern and play a category that will use most of your tiles. So in this case, the predominant pattern would be for 369. We have mostly 369 in these tiles. When a multiple forms, that's when you would reassess. In this case, for this particular set of tiles, I ended up getting multiples in 3s and 6s, so I stayed with 369. But let's say 4s and 5s came in. Maybe a switch to 3, 4, 5, 6 would have been better. But in this case, 369 still was a good way to go. When a multiple forms, reassess. And then maximize by choosing a category that will use most of your tiles. The next tactic, 3 tactics for the Charleston, would be streamlining. Streamlining is when you focus on the consecutive run category. The consecutive run category is the most flexible category on the card because it uses 3 suits numbered 1 through 9. The sheer number of tiles used in that type of hand, consecutive hands, it's astronomical compared to the other hands. It's relatively, you have relatively greater opportunities just because of the flexibility of the using number tiles. And the consecutive run hands, incidentally, are not just in the consecutive run category. They're all elsewhere on the card too. So in this case, you can see that we have that predominant pattern showing consecutive run. So we could play consecutive run with these tiles. So why, the question I get a lot is, why is consecutive run such a big deal for American Mah Jongg? Really, Mahjong in general, it's a big deal. It's a big part of the game because of its flexibility. If you look at all the tiles on the card, most of them are the suits with numbers on them, 1 through 9, 3 suits. If you look at the consecutive run category, you have 11 hands in there, but there are other consecutive run hands in other categories. So there are more choices outside that consecutive run category. So there are many, many options, which makes it a very powerful category. Not only do you have lots of options, but you have built-in flexibility because you're working in a range of 9 numbers up or down. Most of the runs are 3, 4, maybe 5 numbers in a range. So you have that flexibility up or down that full 9 number range to work with. All right, we're going to now talk about Charleston offense. Unless there's questions. I don't see any questions. If anybody has any questions, write it in the comment section or in the chat. If you're watching the repost, the comment section will be great. And I'll definitely be able to answer your questions. So we're going to talk about now pregame offense. This is about developing your hand, focusing on your own hand. Arrange your tiles in a logical order. Then target the strength, whether it be multiples or the predominant pattern, and gather supporting tiles. Make sure that you reassess after each pass, especially if a multiple forms. Put useless tiles to one side so that you can quickly pass. And these are the kinds of discards that I look for. Useless tiles. If you're playing consecutive run, you're not going to need wins. If you're playing consecutive run in a 4-number range, let's say 1, 2 through 5, you're not going to need big numbers. So you can let 6 through 9 go with wins. So think about the useless tiles and focus just on gathering for whatever the strength is. Support the strength of your hand. Inefficient tiles would be tiles on the edge of the run from the inside or the outside in, 1, 2, 3, and 9, 8, 7. So if you're working in consecutive run especially, you want to try to stay as close to the center of the range as possible so that you can take advantage of the flexibility. The tiles on the edge have less flexibility. So start by letting go of 1s and 9s, for example. Those would be inefficient tiles. And then subordinate patterns would be, for example, if you're playing evens, you won't need odds. Make sure that you're considering filler tiles, though. So if you're playing evens, you might consider keeping 3s and 5s, for example, or maybe 1s and 3s so that you can potentially switch to consecutive run with those filler tiles, depending on what you get during the Charleston. So these are the offensive tactics. For defense, you just want to mitigate risk when you're passing your tiles. Do the best you can with what you have left over, because your focus should be developing your own hand, and then you have a few tiles hopefully left over that you'll be able to mitigate risk with those passes. Just make it as benign as possible. so that you're not helping your opponent develop their hand. Also, we're going to look at just really quick the best kinds of passes from high risk or low risk to high. So one of the best kinds of passes would be to have a different numbered tile in different suits. Little number, middle number, big number. That would be the best kind of pass. And then maybe the next, with a little bit of risk, would be a single winder dragon with a mixed numbered mixed suit tile. Like let's say you do a red dragon with a west wind and a 7 dot, for example. That would be a great pass. The tiles in the same category is getting a little bit more risky, so try not to do that if you can. Also, tiles of the same suit, another risky pass. White dragons and flowers, try to pass these rarely. Like numbers and pairs, last resort. Also, I need to add in here passing 2 winds or passing 2 dragons. Those would be equivalent to passing like numbers. So they're on the risky level of passes. Try not to pass 2 winds or 2 dragons together. And during the Charleston, there are some red flags. One would be an opponent passing blind. If an opponent passes blind, that would be an indicator that they have a well-developed hand. The other indicator could be that they're in between and they can't decide. But to be safe, think that they have a well-developed hand, because that could change the way that you perceive your own position in the game. If somebody is passing blind, they may have a better developed hand than you do, so you might want to take a low-risk approach to the game. Another red flag would be an opponent stopping the Charleston. And if the player who passed blind also stopped the Charleston, that would confirm the red flag, that they have a well-developed hand. And they could have an in-between, in which case I hope not, because they're letting go of opportunities. You don't want to straddle like that. You want to pick the better option and keep going. The next one would be negotiating low in the optional across, if that optional across even happens, because when someone stops the Charleston, typically the opponent will not do a pass. So if you happen to stop the Charleston, don't be surprised when somebody stops the Charleston. That is a tactic that is prudent, because you need to assume that a player who passes blind, stops the Charleston, and negotiates low, they're probably going to have a well-developed hand, and you don't want to feed into that. You don't want to help them further develop their hand. All right, so the idea behind these tactics would be to optimize, maximize, and streamline. And if you can stack them, then you would have a power play. You have a really good chance of expediting hand development and putting yourself in a really strong position going into the pick and discard phase of the game. So once you get through the Charleston, you want to measure your results, not just to see how your decision making is improving, to measure your performance, but you also want to know the level of risk that you can take going into the next phase of the game. So there's a twofold purpose in measuring the results after the Charleston. If you have more than 4 discards, you're likely going to be an underdog for that particular game. So you want to take a low risk approach until you have a stronger hand. For example, no gaps and few weaknesses. If you have a hand with gaps, you've got work to do. You need to draw well and watch the discards and exposures and make sure that you're making good decisions for your own hand development based on what is happening in that next phase of the game. If you're an underdog, take a low risk approach. If you have 4 discards, you're likely going to be a contender for that game, and you can take moderate risks. You want to expedite hand development. If you're set up for calling discards to make an exposure, if you know what hand you're playing and you have no gaps, go for it. If you have a gap though, You might pull back and wait till that gap is filled before you call discards to make an exposure. So consider taking a moderate risk if you're in the contender position. If you have more than 4 discards, you are likely going to be a front runner. And this is where you can push to win regardless of risk. Because if you are that close to having a hand with no gaps and strengths, you can call discards to continue hand development and expedite quickly being a front runner. It's okay to take risks. Let's look at a couple of examples, a few examples. Here we have a pair of 4s and a pair of 5s, 4 crack, 5 crack, multiples. I have these marked out like this because that's what you target. When you first get your dealt hand, you target multiples. So whatever hand we play, we're going to use 4, 5. So we're going to play something consecutive. Let's say, well, I have in here TBD. We don't know, to be determined. But with consecutive run, we would have 4 discards. So we would be an underdog here. 4 discards, and we don't know what hand we're playing. If you don't know what your hand you're playing, consider yourself as an underdog, because you'll need to take that low risk approach until you decide what hand you're playing based on the drawing that will come next. In this particular hand, after the Charleston, we have multiples of 2 and 4. We have a 6, but no 8. So probably I would play consecutive run. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, second hand down on the right. And in this case, we have 4 discards, but I would say we'd be a contender here because we know what hand we're playing and we have no gaps, plus we have jokers. So this would be an example of a contender. And you can take greater risk here. I would say moderate risk because we still have weaknesses. We only have 2 jokers. We need to pung the 1 and pung the 3. We still need to Kong that 4. So we have a bit of weakness here. That's why I would say we're a contender. Let's look at another example. We have wins and a big multiple here of the 7 bam. We could play Winds and Dragons number 7, concealed. It's a concealed hand, so we'll have to draw well. And we do have an extra east in here, but we have 3 discards and a hand with no gaps. I'd say we'd be a contender here. We'd have to draw well, though, because it's a concealed hand. Here's another example. We've got multiples that don't go together. We have a pair of flowers, pair of 1 crack, pair of 5 crack, and then we have a pair of 9 dots. So with these tiles, we could play little odds. We could maybe play something in odds in general. I don't even know maybe 1, 3, 5 dragon. We have a gap, no 3. So I think I have plugged here. Oh, 5, 7, 9, 9. All right. So there's a hand with no gaps. 5, 7, 9, 9 with flowers, 6 hand down on the right. Number 6-2. So that would mean that we would have 3 discards. So we would be a contender here. We have a pair that we don't need. So 3 discards plus a pair that you don't need, even though that's 5 discards. You'd think, well, why aren't we an underdog with 5 discards? Because that 1 crack pair is joker bait. You might be able to get joker bait out of that pair if you discard it at the right time, depending on what happens at the table. Of course, one of your opponents will need to be in that wheelhouse in order to use the 1, but there is some potential to get a joker in here. So 5, 7, 9, 9, you could play. If you get a 3 crack, you could do 1 crack, 5 crack, red dragon with flowers. That would be the 4th hand down. That's an if, though, and it's a gap. So try to focus on a hand or a category where you have no gaps. Here's another example. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Look at all these multiples. 2 crack pair, 3 crack pair, 4 crack pair, 1, 2, and dots paired up too. But here I would play 1, 2, 3, 4, pung kong, second hand down on the right, and use the 2 crack pair as joker bait. That means that we would have 4 discards with joker bait. So in this case, I would say we would be a front runner. We would have 1 joker to help us. We could pung the 3 We could pung the 1. We could Kong even the 4 or the 2. We just need one good pick to help us with our last Kong. So I would say we would be a front runner here. And this particular hand, you would be able to push hard and fast and take risks because you're only 4 tiles away, including potential joker bait, where you might be able to get a joker out of that pair you don't need. Here's one more, another example. I don't think we have too many more. Here we have a like number hand where we've got pairs of all the 1s, and we have the dragons and a couple of jokers. Like numbers number 2, we have 1 discard. So we would be a front runner here, even with a concealed hand. Trust the process. It works, and I hope to be able to demonstrate how all this works when we play at Mahjong Time. And we'll talk through Charleston decision-making, assessing your position, assessing risk level, and then strategy by wall and using the tactics that I shared. When you play in the begin game, let's see here. We'll keep going. Should we keep going, or do you want me to play with robots with the Charleston? I think everyone in this live stream probably would be intermediate, advanced. So let me know if you want me to keep going, because I was going to go into the begin game tactics and then middle game and then end game, but we could pause and go into Charleston modeling if you like, but I'll only do it if asked. We could pause the presentation and do Charleston modeling so that you can see optimize, maximize, streamline, and then assess position and how all that works. So if you want me to continue with the presentation, put go. If you'd rather me do Charleston modeling, okay, so we'll keep going. All right. Wes says keep going, so we'll keep going. All right, begin game. After the Charleston, you've assessed your position, you know the kind of risk that you can take. Now we're going to go into the pick and discard phase of the game. Okay, thank you, Nancy. All right, so we're in the second wall is out, the short wall. This is the begin game. With developing your own hand, you want to make sure that you're making decisions based on what is happening at the table, because that is going to impact the amount of additional development that you'll be able to do. If your tiles are being discarded, you might need to make changes to your focus. So watch what other players are discarding and exposing so that you can try to identify what category they're playing and adjust your own strategies accordingly. So for example, in this short wall, if somebody right away puts out a Kong of 2s and I'm holding 2, 4, 6, 8, I might consider switching to, let's say, 3, 4, 5, 6, still leveraging even tiles 4 and 6, but maybe switching out of the 2s because maybe my opponent is playing a year hand or evens. So you want to watch what they're exposing and what they're discarding to try to figure out what category they're playing to solidify your own category. You want to try to play a category that nobody else is playing. For example, if nobody else is playing winds, well, you've got a wide open road. So that's just a little example. Make sure that you commit to a category by the end of this wall, if you can. That would be a guideline to try to keep pace of the game. So if you can know what category you're playing, one category, that way too, you're not straddling 2 options for too long. You want to stick with the option that has the strongest potential. So if you are in between categories, going to the end of that second wall, go with the category that has the greater strength and let those other options go. Commit to a single hand before the end of the third wall. We're going to be going into this bullet needs to be removed. That's a middle game, so ignore that bullet. Redeem jokers from other players' hands to prevent somebody else from getting the benefit of those tiles. Like if somebody has an exposure with a joker and you can make an exchange, consider making that exchange to limit the potential for your opponents to have access to the jokers. Make sure, though, that you're not giving them the opportunity for a pure hand. You want to try to leave a joker exposed on their rack. Like if they have 2 exposures and each one has a joker and you can take both, take only one, because you don't want to give them that opportunity to have a jokerless hand. Okay, so now let's talk about defense. Survey each opponent's first 4 discards to try to rule out what categories they're not playing. So that will be a way for you to ensure that you're in a good category with lots of options. For red flags in this phase of the game, any opponent making exposures in this second wall would be a red flag, because they typically are trying to expedite hand development, which means they probably know what hand they're playing and they're ready to go. They're probably a front runner if they're going to make an exposure in this phase of the game. Also, any opponent discarding a joker, that would be another red flag. And that would basically tell you that they're either playing a pair hand, single and pair hand, or that they are maybe even ready to win, waiting on a single tile or a pair tile. So making exposures in this phase of the game where the second wall is in play, or a player discarding jokers. Okay, ready? We're going to go into now the middle game. Third wall. Third wall, avoid claiming a discard until you're ready to commit to a hand. So if you've not yet claimed a discard, just make sure your first claim, make sure you check it for your hand for a C or an X to make sure that you're not playing a concealed hand. Also, yeah, that is, oh, okay, sorry, I jumped ahead a bullet. Claim a discard when you're ready to commit to a hand. So for example, just because you can claim a discard to make a Kong, I would not do that if you don't know what hand you're playing. Don't claim a discard just to make an exposure. It's better to wait until you know what you're playing and you have strength built in, no gaps, few weaknesses, then commit. Otherwise, you could be committing early and you could paint yourself into a corner. Commit to a single hand before the end of the third wall, if possible. Actually, if you can be ready to win by the end of the third wall, that's ideal. For defense, survey opponent discards and monitor their exposures to confirm their focus. You want to try to figure out what category they're playing. Up until this point in the game, the third wall, you're really trying to figure out what they're not focused on. Now you want to focus on what they are focused on. So that's the difference. Leave at least one joker in exposures. You don't want to give them the opportunity for a jokerless hand. Also, if you have risky discards, let them go before the end of the third wall. For example, if you know you're not going to play with flowers and you have flowers, let them go maybe 2 or 3 picks before the end of the third wall. Because if you hold those risky tiles going into the end game, which we're going to look at next, you're going to be holding tiles that are going to increase the level of risk and also increase the level of anxiety in your body. So try to let go of those risky tiles in the third wall. If you're not using dragons, let them go in the third wall. If you're not using winds, let those go first. Then the dragons, maybe year tiles, let those go early as well. Especially if someone's playing the big year hand, you do not want to be discarding 2s, 3s, and white dragons in the end game. So think about those risky tiles, let them go in the third wall. Also, observe tells. This would be, there are 3 types of tells. Let's see, I don't have them listed here. Let's see if I go over them. No, I don't. Okay, so post-exposure discards, those are another big tell, tile tell, where when someone makes an exposure, especially in the middle game, that first discard after the exposure is very telling. So that would be one example of a tile tell. Other tells would be a physical tell where maybe they flinch or maybe they reach out to pick a tile or reach for the discard and then they move their hand over to the pick from the wall. That will be a tell that maybe they're in between still. So you can gain or gather intel, basically, to gain an advantage at the table by observing tells. The physical tells that I just gave a couple of examples of. Also, there are verbal tells when people say things like, where are all the flowers? Or who's got all the jokers? Things like that, because that just tells you that they have no flowers or jokers. So any kind of mention about the game is going to give you information about, that you can help you make a decision about your own hand. So watch the tells, verbal tells, physical tells, and tile tells. There's another tile tell of where people flip their tiles in their rack to indicate tiles that have been discarded. If somebody tips a tile in their rack after someone discards, you can pretty much zero in on that would have been their tile. Sometimes people are aware of that, and maybe they'll tip a tile a pick away from that or a discard after, so that they're not pinning us, or they're not pinning themselves to a particular discard. But typically reactions like that can give you information about your opponent. So observe tells. The red flags in this part of the game would be any opponent making exposures. They're likely playing to win. Anybody who is staying concealed, maybe they're fully concealed, they may be playing a concealed hand, or maybe they're just playing defense, even in the middle game. Any opponent discarding jokers will be another red flag, similar to the begin game. All right, we're moving into the end game now. Here we go. Last phase of the game. Continually assess your potential, because you can be, for example, a front runner, but all of a sudden all your tiles are going down. You may need to bump back to being a contender, or maybe even an underdog, and fold your hand. Calculate the odds for completing your hand based on the number of picks in the wall that are left, the number of discards in your hand, and the number of tiles needed that are visible. So for example, if your tiles have been discarded, or maybe they're in exposures, all these variables are going to help you decide the potential for you to complete your hand. Continually assess your opponent's potential as well. If you're able to identify what category they're playing or what hand they're playing based on exposures and discards, calculate their odds in the same way that you would for your own hand. The number of picks in the wall, the number of their tiles in your hand, because you can block an opponent from winning by keeping their tiles. Also, the number of their tiles that are needed that are visible. These variables can help you decide their potential to win compared to your potential to win. And you can use those variables to compare so that you can make a decision on whether you're going to push to win or fold and try to end the game in a draw. If you decide to play to win, discard the highest risk tile first. So from high to low, no tiles out would be the riskiest tile. So if you're in the end game and you've decided that you are going to play to win, discard the riskiest tile first, which would be a tile that's never been discarded at this point. So if I don't see any 5 bams and I have a 5 bam that I'm not going to use, that would go first because it's the riskiest one. If there's 1 tile visible, there's a little less risk. 2 tiles visible, 3 tiles visible. And then of course we know that jokers being discarded would be the lowest risk. So consider this high to low risk in discarding, and that would be if you're playing to win. Some red flags that you want to think about would be the discard right after an exposure, and it's going to be even more telling during this phase of the game. It's got increased intel. It's got greater weight in the meaning in this phase of the game because they've had time to discard their unwanted tiles, their clear discards. They're likely more into all keepers at this point. Also, anyone who's making an exposure in this phase of the game is playing to win. Now, there are some players who will make exposures as a bluff or a red herring. maybe they folded, but they're going to make an exposure to hoard tiles, or just because they can, especially if they're not using jokers. Some people may do that. I disagree with that tactic because I think it reveals information. I would rather keep it all to myself and hoard those risky tiles, or tiles that I know my opponent needs. I'd rather keep them concealed. So the last one would be any opponent discarding a joker. If somebody discards a joker, they're either ready to win on a pair, or maybe they folded and they're just discarding safely in this phase of the game. So those are the red flags in the end game. So these are all the things to think about if you're playing to win. But what happens if you're playing to end the game in a draw? This would be called a fold. If you fold, prioritize your discards. Break up your hand and discard low risk to high risk. Low risk to high risk would be jokers, but I would save jokers for last. The jokers is the lowest risk, but save it for the end. Other tiles that would be better to go first before jokers, but that are also low risk, would be tiles where 3 are visible. And when I say visible, that means they could either be in an exposure or a discard, or both, one, the other, or both. 2 tiles out, 1 tile out, and then no tiles out. This would be low to high. If you fold and you draw a tile that is not visible on the table, you keep that tile and you discard some of these other ones. So you want to hoard those riskiest tiles and let the low risk tiles go. So think about how many tiles are left in the wall for picking, how many low risk discards you have, and assess that in order to know which level of risk should go first. So for example, if you have a full wall in the end game and you've decided to fold, you might discard the tiles where there's only 1 visible as the riskiest tile first, and save the tiles that are safest for later in the game. As an example, minimize exposure. I mentioned this a few minutes ago. Avoid calling an exposure if you know you cannot win. That's my opinion. Some people will do it to hoard tiles. But the thing is, if somebody discards a tile and you can call it and make an exposure, that discard, if not called by anyone else, is still going to be unusable. So why expose tiles from your hand that will also be unusable? Especially if you end up using a joker in the end game and you have folded, you could be giving someone the potential to do a joker exchange. So it's best just to not make exposures if you have folded. Just hoard tiles and discard safely. Observe tells. Post-exposure discards are going to be very telling in this stage of the game. Anytime players shuffle their tiles at this stage of the game, that could be a tell that they're folding, but it could also be a tell that maybe they're still in between and they're switching to strength. So just watch what people do with their tiles, where they're using, if you look at their tile manipulation and also look at their facial expressions, typically you can tell if they're folding because they'll have a grumpy look on their face, most likely. So you can kind of tell if somebody is maybe got a little bit of a smirk and they're shuffling their tiles a little bit. I would say that would be more like switching to strength and discarding their unwanted few tiles left to get them to a win. So try to observe their tells with tile manipulation and also their facial expressions and their physical tells as well. So I thought I would also share very quickly this risk assessment matrix on how to determine the impact and the likelihood that you're going to be discarding a tile that could potentially give somebody a winning hand. On the left side of this matrix, we have the likelihood: improbable, possible, probable. Is the risk of discarding a tile unlikely to occur, would be improbable? Is it likely to occur, would be possible? And if it's most likely to occur, it would be a probable likelihood. Then on the right side, we have the impact of that discard. If it is maybe someone has no exposures and you have a tile that you think they might need based on what you've seen them discard, then that impact would be acceptable. But if somebody has a tolerable impact, they may have, let's say, one exposure. So I wouldn't feel too bad about discarding a possible winning hand when someone has one exposure. But the further you get to the impact towards the right, unacceptable to intolerable, where they have more and more exposures, the impact is going to be greater. So the idea here is that you want to stay on the low to medium side. So if you have a possible hand where someone has no exposures, that would be a low risk, versus somebody who has, let's say, one exposure and you have a probable tile for them, that would be going up to a high risk, and so on and so on. So you want to try to stay away from the high and medium risks and think about how risky is this tile? Is it a possible or probable winning tile? And what will the impact be? If it's going to be acceptable or tolerable, go ahead and discard it. But if it's unacceptable or intolerable, keep it and fold. Know that the smarter you play, the luckier you will be. This is a quote by Mark Pilarski, who is a gaming aficionado, basically Las Vegas guru. The smarter you play, the luckier you'll be. So let's play Mahjong now. And hopefully we'll be able to talk through all these topics and tactics that we shared in this presentation. Does anybody have any questions or concerns? I'm going to open up Mahjong Time and we'll play for the next hour. And hopefully we'll be able to talk through all those things. If you have any questions along the way, write them in chat or write them in the comment section below the video if you're watching the repost. Okay, here's a game. We're going to go up here now. All right, let's see. We'll jump right here. Okay, so we're just waiting for one player. Oh, here we go. Game on. Okay, we have a multiple in here, the 2 or the 3 bam. So since we have a multiple, we're going to target that. We're going to be optimizing here. That's the tactic. Optimize 3 bam. Then we're going to look at the rest of our tiles and keep tiles that we can use with that 3 bam. I'm thinking either a year hand or 2, 3, 4, 5 of some kind. So I would hold all these tiles right here and play 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's discard 9, 8 with a west. So we're targeting the 3 bam. We're maximized by holding most of our tiles, and we're also streamlining because we have consecutive tiles. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have like numbers with 8s now. So we now whittle our keepers. I think with a 2, 3 bam, maybe the 5 bam can go. We need one more tile. I'm thinking we can do 2, 3, 4, 5 of some kind here. Maybe a year hand. So let's start here. Maybe a year hand would be better than 2, 3, 4 of some kind. Let's just see what we get. All right, we have a green dragon now. So I'd probably let that 4 dot go. Let's see, 8. We don't need the 1 though. We could play 2, 3 dragon, or we could maybe play a year hand. Maybe the first year hand. So right now we're targeting 2, 3. Here's 1, 2, 3 now. We got like numbers with ones in there. We have 1, 2, 1, 2. That would be consecutive run. That would be streamlining. We definitely want to keep going. I would not straddle. We're in one category, consecutive run, or maybe we could play a year hand. So we're kind of in between at the moment, but I would whittle this down. Probably I would let the 1 dot go. We have 1, 2, 3 in BAMs with a corresponding dragon, but we also have year potential. So we're in between. We're streamlining with consecutive run, and we're optimized using most of our tiles or our multiples, and then we're maximized by using most of our tiles. So this would be considered a power play. We still need strength though. We need to gather more because we're in between. We need some deciding tiles here. No keepers here, but we did get a 5. If we happen to get a 4 BAM, we could maybe play 1 through 5. We do have 2, 3 dragon. We still could maybe play the first year hand. I think I would let the 3 dot go here because we could still play that first year hand. 2 crack white dragon with 2, 3 Pung Kong. Okay, now we have a 1 BAM pair, so that would be a multiple. Therefore, I would more likely focus on 1, 2, 3 and let the year category go. And our opponent across from us wants 2 tiles. That would be a red flag because they're negotiating low. But we have 2 tiles to pass and a pretty well-developed hand with no gaps. So I think that the risk is worth it. I would be okay with passing that. I think what I would do here is probably keep the 2 and the white for a little while. Maybe let this 5 BAM go. So most likely we're playing the 5th hand down on the left, but we could also play the concealed hand if we happen to get a 4 BAM. No, but we did get a 2. So that would work if we played that year hand. We have 2 discards before we have to pick a hand. So I wouldn't pick a hand. I would just wait and see what develops.
7 bamboos.
We're in between the first year hand and the 5th hand down under consecutive run. We really can only call for 1 block at the moment. There's another year tile.
West wind.
So we have 2, 3, 2, 3. We could even maybe switch to the 6th hand down under consecutive run.
6 dots.
2, 3, 2, 3. And we could pung 2 of the blocks, the 2s.
South wind.
I think what I would do is let the dragon go here. Another 2.
5
okay, we got another 2. We could keep that for a little while. I think I would probably keep the white dragon and let the green dragon go.
8 dots.
We do have some potential for that 2nd hand down under consecutive run. Here's a 3 crack that went down with a hesitation.
2 characters.
Okay, now here we have to make a choice. We could pung for 2 hands. I would do it. We have 2 hands with no gaps. 2, 3, 2, 3, or the first year hand. So the 1 BAMs would be joker bait and the flower would be our most risky discard. So we're playing either the first year hand or 2, 3, 2, 3.
West
now,
wind.
if we play 2, 3, 2, 3, already we'll need a joker for that 3 crack.
5 bamboos.
Oh, I didn't say what position we are in. I think we were an underdog because we were in between a year hand and consecutive run. At 80 tiles remaining, we're going into the middle game right now. We're probably in the year category. So I would say we're probably a contender with this number of discards. We have 2 clear discards with joker bait. 4 total discards, so I'd say we're a
East
contender. But we have weakness here.
White dragon.
Actually, we have that 2 dot is a discard too. If we're playing the first hand, let's see.
5
Yeah,
dots.
we're playing the first hand. There's a 3. Okay, now I would go ahead and let the flower go. So we
Flower.
could still maybe play 2-3, 2-3. So I'd keep the 3 crack. But I would probably say we're more likely going to be playing this first hand under consecutive run. And we have 2 clear discards
bamboos.
with joker bait. 2 clear
6
discards with
characters.
joker bait. So I'd say we're still a contender until we get one more keeper. And then
4
I'd say we
dots.
could jump up to front runner. If we get one more keeper in here. White dragon, a 1 bam. We really don't need that. And when you have
2
a pung,
dots.
an unwanted pung, an unusable pung, that does not make good joker bait, because more likely than
North
not,
wind.
opponents will not call for an exposure with 3 jokers or 2
3
jokers.
bamboos.
Okay, let's go ahead and Kong.
Kong.
We're playing the first hand, no gaps.
1 bamboo.
So now that 3 crack can go. Well, no, we could still keep it for 2-3-2. No, yeah, 2-3-2-3. We could still play 2-3-2-3
5 dots.
because we have that pung of 2s. Nobody wanted the 1
4
bam.
dots.
That means those are clear discards. So I'd still say we're a contender.
1 character. Kong.
If we get a white dragon, I'd play the year hand. If we get the 3 crack, I'd play 2-3-2-3.
7 bamboos.
Either way, we can pung the 2 bam.
7 characters.
We got a 2 bam.
1 bamboo.
We need a Kong of white dragons. 1 is out.
9
I think I would play
bamboos.
2-3-2-3. Either way, we're going to need a joker.
7 dots.
Probably this 1 bam could go, though, right away,
9
regardless. Oh, we don't want wins.
East wind.
I would still say we're a contender because we have a weakness. We need a joker for the 3, and it needs to be a Kong.
4 dots.
So that's pretty big weakness. Either way,
West
we're
wind.
in between, exactly. So whichever one we get, that's what we'll go with.
6 characters. 6 bamboos.
Hi, Ryan. Welcome. So we're playing 2-3-2-3, 6 hand down under consecutive run,
2 dots.
or we're playing the first year
Red
hand.
dragon. Six characters.
We got the white dragon. So
1
we'll
bamboo.
switch to 2-0-2-3. Wait a minute. White dragon, 2-3-3.
South wind.
Yeah, so we need to let the 3 crack go. 2
5
crack pung,
characters.
Kong white, pung 2 bam, Kong 3 bam. We need a joker.
5 dots.
Okay, now 3 crack, 1 is out north, 2 are out. We're at
3
50 tiles
characters.
remaining. We have 1 discard. I'd still say we're a contender until we get a joker. We've got to have a joker. This 1 crack here is available too.
8
These are
bamboos.
available for exchange. That's a
7
pretty risky
characters.
exposure. I don't know what they're doing here with a 1 crack
3
pair. Maybe
characters.
something consecutive
North wind.
because they have 3s and 5s in front of them. They could be doing 1-9 though. Let's see, 9 crack, 1 is out.
1 character.
Oh, they got it. Oh my goodness, they could have taken a joker there, but they let it go.
6 dots.
Okay, that would be a red flag. We're going into the end game after this pick.
2 bamboos.
Okay, we need a joker. We're going to pass. That's a pung for us. 2 crack. That should
North
be
wind.
safe because we have that right there. That'll probably be our last discard.
4 characters. Green dragon.
Oh, hesitation on the green dragon there. When you play online, the hesitations
3
are
dots.
a tell. It would be a timing
5
tell.
characters.
That's called a timing tell. Or really a hesitation would also be like a hesitation. A hesitation would be a physical tell because
6
they would be
bamboos.
usually they would have some
7
kind of other
bamboos.
physical tell, like a flinch, or
White dragon.
they would maybe pull back a little bit. Okay, we're going to need 2 jokers now. 2 jokers. 7 dot, 1 is out. That's our riskiest tile. If we're playing to
7
win,
dots.
we need to let that go.
South wind.
Okay, so we're in the end game now.
South wind.
So we want to discard as safely as possible here. We need 2 jokers, which is probably unlikely.
Joker.
And now there's a red flag. Red flag, joker in the end game.
7
This
characters.
early in the end game,
3 dots.
they're likely waiting on a pair or a single. So probably we should fold. Because we need 2 jokers.
3 characters.
Our white dragons are out. So we need 2 jokers.
6 bamboos.
2 dot, 2 are out.
2 dots. 8 bamboos.
We have 6 more picks, 1 discard,
6 characters.
and likely we are folding because we need 2 jokers.
7 bamboos.
8 crack, I think, is out. 1 is out.
8 characters.
Oh, that was a little scary
9 characters.
because only 1 is visible. We might need to discard these tiles and let it go. I still have this urge inside to play to win because I'm competitive. If we we could potentially draw jokers, but it's not likely. All right, we're going to let the 2 go. There are no 9 dots out. And there was a
6
hesitation
dots.
on that 8. So that 9 dot is going to be very risky. There's only 1 8 dot out right here.
8 dots.
Uh-oh. Oh my gosh. Okay.
9 characters.
Joker. All right. Let's do it.
9 dots.
Hold your breath. Oh my gosh, that was really scary. Okay, we got a
4
joker.
characters.
There's still a 1 crack out. We're right back up to
7
contender.
dots.
You can fold and unfold in Mahjong.
East wind.
8 dot went down.
8 dots. Joker.
Oh, joker. That's probably a
9
fold.
bamboos.
That would be probably a fold indicator with only 2 picks left.
7
1
dots.
crack. Oh, east.
East wind. 5 bamboos.
Uh-oh. I think they might have left the
1
game.
character.
Oh, darn. They got their joker back.
4 characters.
Okay, we have 1 more pick.
Joker.
Oh, 4 crack was just thrown.
4 characters. 9 dots. Seven characters.
All right. That's it. Okay, so let's take a peek around and see what people were doing. We got close. We were ready to win. We just needed a joker over here. So we have 369 dragon ready to win on a green dragon. No, they needed a 6 dot. 6 dot pair. 3 were out. So one of their 6 went down before they had a ready hand. Here, like numbers with 1s, they were, oh, bummer. They needed a pair and it went down. They needed a pair of 1 bams and it went down. 3 are out. That's the risk of waiting on a pair. Here, it looks like 4 8 addition maybe, or like numbers with 4s, like numbers with 8s. I'm not sure. All right, let's play again. Oh, here we go. We can maybe make it in here. We got it. All right. Okay, here we go. All right, we have a joker flower, pair ones. I target the multiple. So that's what we're going to start with, a 1. We do have another 1, and we do have 2, 3. So I would focus on 1, 2, 3, or like numbers with 1s. 1, 2, 3 are like numbers with 1s, and we have tiles we can pass. There is some potential in here for little odds. So let's pass 6, 7 west. 6, 7 west. We got a 3, little odds, maybe. We do have 1, 2, 3 in there though. Let's let the 5 go. Consecutive run, it's far more flexible. We're going to streamline. We're optimizing, streamlining. We're maximized, so this would be a power play. All 3 tactics. All 3. East, west. We could switch to east and west with a run. Let's see here. Let's see if we keep the east, west with a 1, 2, 3. The red can go. We have 1 dot pair. That's the driver. 1 dot pair, 1, 2, 3. So let's pass 6 red with a 3. If we have 1, 2, 3, 1 dot or 1 crack there, we might be able to do east and west with a run. Second hand down under winds and dragons. It's still streamlining and optimize. Let's see, streamline, optimize, maximize. We still have a power play, even though we're not in that category. But now we have potential for like numbers again. So I would probably let the winds go at this point. 1, 2, 3. I would definitely keep going. Okay, now we have to let something go. I would say probably we have 1, 2, 1, 2, or like numbers with 1s. I'd probably let the 2 go here. Like numbers with 1s, or 1, 2, 3 and 1 suit with the flower. If we're not going to pass it, we might as well try to use it. All right, we have a white dragon. So that'll work if we play like numbers. At this point, we have to make a choice. Probably what I would do here is let the 3 go and focus on like numbers. We have the 1 there. Maybe we'll get the red dragon back. Okay, so we have southwest with a 2 can go. So at the moment we have 5 discards. We do have a gap, no red, but I'm hoping we'll see it. We have 2 passes here before we're done. We might get the red dragon back. This is why you want to keep going with the Charleston and not omit the Charleston, second Charleston altogether, because you do see tiles come back. Not in this case yet. We have tiles we can pass. So the east was going around. Okay, let's see if we can get that red. It's not a big deal if we don't. We have 5 discards though, so we'll be an underdog if we don't get a keeper here. Nope, but we've got winds. We've got north paired up here.
North wind.
North and south. Let's pass. Now winds are going to go down probably, so we're just going to probably end up letting them go. I was thinking maybe we could play a quint, but usually winds go down in the first part of the game.
3 bamboos.
Let's see here if there's something we can do. 3 bam. You know what we could maybe do is play
6 characters.
We could maybe play news concealed.
East wind.
We'll keep an eye on the east because that would be a single tile. And of course, we're going to need
bamboo.
something to go with our 1. White dragon pair. White dragon pair. Let's let the green dragon go.
Green dragon.
All right, so let's just see what happens. We passed, we passed a 2 and a 3, and somebody kept
6
them.
dots.
Somebody kept the 2 and the 3. So probably the white dragon is
7
not going to be a
bamboos.
good keeper for us. I'd almost rather play
5 bamboos.
1, 2 news concealed, or
6
like numbers with
characters.
1s. Somebody kept the red dragon too, by the way.
7 bamboos.
There are a lot of big numbers. 5, 6, 7 are
4
all being
dots.
discarded. 4, 5, 6, 7.
1 character.
So no 2s are out yet. 1s are going down, but no 2s. We got the east. All right, let's let the, let's let the 1s go.
1 bamboo.
I'm thinking we could maybe play news with dragons after I let that green dragon go.
7 characters.
I don't think I would play that. I'd almost rather play
6
news
dots.
concealed if we can get a
5
2.
characters.
2 crack or 2 bam.
6 characters. 5 characters.
So there are 3 winds out, north, east, and
3
west.
characters.
We'll see. We don't have to pick a hand yet. We're
6
gathering.
bamboos.
We're still in gather mode.
1 character.
News with dragons or
3 bamboos.
news concealed under the winded dragon category. Hi, Susan.
5 characters. 2 bamboos.
Oh, there goes a 2 and a hesitation, by the way. I wonder if someone's playing a year hand.
4 dots.
Well, now here's an interesting
8
idea.
characters.
We could play 1, 3, 5 with dragons. We need a 3 dot. Oh my goodness, I need to get my bangs
1
trimmed.
character.
These bangs are irritating
6
my eyes.
bamboos.
We don't need a 4.
4 characters.
So a 2 crack would be a really nice pick at the
3
moment.
bamboos. 9
3 dot or
bamboos.
2 crack. We're an underdog for sure because we're in between.
Kong.
All right, now here we have a Kong in the middle of the game with 2 jokers. That's risky. So now they're a white belt with a
character.
green stripe. Okay, and there's a 2. That might actually be more helpful than the 5.
5 dots.
1, 2 dragon, no gaps. Hi, Candace. Welcome. Okay, so red flag
4
over here to the
dots.
left. Exposure with 2 jokers. That's risky. We're still
3
in
dots.
between news with dragons, news concealed, or 1, 2 dragon. That just kind of popped in. A third hand down. Now somebody kept the 2 dot.
3
The
dots.
3 dot, just 2 3 dots just went down. I think it's the player on our right. There's a red dragon. Let's keep that
2 dots.
because we could maybe play news with dragons. Probably the flower should go next.
6 characters.
News with dragons. Somebody kept the red dragon during the Charleston.
5 bamboos. 5 characters.
Okay, let's see. Let's let the flower go.
Flower.
We're in the middle of the game. We're coming up to 57 tiles remaining. So we're still in the middle
3
game
bamboos.
until we're at 41 tiles. The middle game ends at 41 tiles. So we're about 3 picks from
9
the
dots.
end game. And that's why I let the flower go. Because I don't want to be sitting here with a flower
Kong.
in the end game. There's a Kongs of 9s.
2 dots.
Now they could be, okay, we got the white dragon. Nice.
8 dots.
Okay, now the white 1 dot will go next.
9 dots.
So we're set. We just have a weakness with our south. I would say we jumped up to front runner at this point
7 characters.
because now we know what hand we're playing.
8 dots.
Second hand from the bottom under wins, and we have 1 weakness.
South wind.
That's it. We can't call it, but we just picked it. I'd
1
say we're
dot.
now a front runner. We have 1 discard and we're still in the middle game. Why are the 2 jokers dangerous in the middle game? It just means that they're
6
willing to risk
bamboos.
in 2 jokers in 1 exposure. So typically that means that they have a well-developed hand.
East wind.
And at that moment, we didn't know what hand we were playing. So that would be an indicator that we would need to maybe take a low risk approach. They're probably playing like numbers with 9s.
West
We do
wind.
not want to draw a 9 crack right now. Okay, 2 dots are out. 1 dot, 1 is out.
1 dot.
So with double Kongs, Kong,
3 dots.
there's no, you know what, they could be playing 3, 6, 9 with 9s.
4
That would be the
characters.
5th hand down under 3, 6, 9. But I need to
3
look at the
dots.
cracks.
7 characters.
So 3, 6, 9 single pair pung.
1
I do not
bamboo.
see, here's the 6 crack, 4 are out. So they're
8
playing like
dots.
numbers because the 6 cracks are all out.
6 dots. 4
I don't see any
characters.
9 cracks.
1 dot.
So we need to get ready to win here. We're in the end game
4
now.
dots. 3 characters. 2 dots.
Seems nobody wants south except
1
we
dot.
wanted it, but okay, where are the dragons? No dragons are out here. Well, red and white. There's a green dragon out, just
1
one.
dragon.
There we go. Let's Kong. I almost clicked Quint. We're going to Kong.
Kong.
And we're semi-stealth mode.
South wind.
So we're ready to win now on a red dragon. Second hand from the bottom under winds and dragons.
Red dragon.
There it is. Mahjong. Okay, I clicked Mahjong. What happened to it? Where did it go?
Mahjong.
There we go. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we have news with dragons. News with dragons. Over here, they were playing like numbers with 9s. They have a pair of red dragons. They waited way too long on that pair of red dragons. They should have thrown that red dragon about 4 picks ago because it's only going to grow in risk. There were no red dragons out. They needed flowers, and they had a weakness with the 9. Here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 2, 4, 8, gap hand. 2, 4, 6, 8 concealed maybe, but they have no 6. So yeah, that's a tough place. Here, 5, 7, 9 of some kind, but they might have switched to defense. I don't know what was going on there. I think we were the front runner on this game. All right, here we go. Next game. So I think maybe the player on the left is fairly new to the game, maybe. That's only, well, I don't know though. I've never seen them at the tables before. But that particular hand, they had a pair of red dragons that were gaining intensity, basically, with risk, because none were out. They should have probably thrown those a while ago. But anyway, all right, we're ready for the next game. Thank you for the kudos. We're just waiting for players now. Here we go. We need one more player. We'll hopefully get to play 2 more games. Does anybody have any questions about the tactics, position, and risk? That's basically what we're talking about, all within the framework of strategy by wall. All right, here we go. Next game. All right, we have here Joker, Flower, 5-7 in BAMs, 1, 3, 4, 7, 9 in cracks with a pung of 3s. And then we have a 1 dot and a 6. So we target the multiple. That really makes the decision making easy, in my opinion. 3 crack pung. So whatever we do, we're going to use it. We could maybe play little odds. Here's a matching dragon with a 4. We have 1, 3. If we get 5s, we could maybe play 1 suit odds. I would stop there. We do have a 5 for little odd potential, but that's not too bad of a pass, really. Oh, thank you, Nancy. That does help. 3 crack pung is the target here. So now we have 1, 9, 1, 3, 5, 9. There's some potential there for odds, but I think there's better potential for 3, 4 dragon. 3, 4, if I had to pick a hand right now, I'd play 3, 4 dragon. There's no gaps for that hand. Okay, South 7, 5. Let's let the South go with the 7 dot. This 5 BAM might come back, but we really don't. It's isolated. There's really nothing to connect to it at the moment. But a 1 dot was also going around. We could maybe, if we get them, we might be able to play little odds. So here's a 3, 5 now. All right, now here we go. Next, Charleston. So we really didn't make any movement forward with this first Charleston. We're going to keep going, and we're going to kind of switch gears. We're going to hold the little tiles and see if maybe the 1.5 BAM come back. So let's pass 9 with a 6 and an 8. Oh, you know what? Hold the phone. We do have a hand in here with no gaps. 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's let the 3 BAM go. Okay, there's a hand. 3, 4, 5, 6, no gaps, or 3, 4 dragon. Really, this 1 crack can go. We just got a flower. All right, that's pretty risky. 3, 4 dragon. 3, 4 dragon right there. Let's throw 1, 9, 7. Somebody gave us a flower. That was generous. We got a red dragon. Awesome. Okay, now we're going right. Let's see here. 1, 2, 1, 3. Let's hold this for the optional. I always like to think a pass ahead if I can. 3, 4 dragon is what we're playing now. 3rd hand down under consecutive run. We optimize by targeting the 3. We maximize by playing most of our tiles. We were in odds, then we switched to consecutive run, kind of in between, and now we're streamlined. So this will be a power play. There's the 5 BAM pair, but we have tiles we can pass. I would like to pass fully. If we'll see what our opponent wants. I don't want to offer until they do. I take a reactive approach on Mahjong Time because I do not want to commit with 3. Oh my gosh, they left the game. See that auto 3? I think they left the game. I'm just going to pass them 2 wins because they are not here. If we get the 1 dot back, we could maybe play that 3rd hand down. Oh, look, we got the 5. Okay, so I would keep the 5 for a little while anyway, because if we get the 1 dot, we could play 1, 3, 5 mixed suit Kongs.
9 dots.
So we're kind of in between. I would say with 4 discards, we're a contender.
7 dots.
We'd be a contender, I think, on this one. Either way, we have our pair.
Kong.
Okay, now that is a red flag, an
Red
exposure
dragon.
in the begin game, and we can do it too. We're going to go ahead and Kong. We have a hand with no
Kong.
gaps. So
7
we're going to play with
bamboo.
3-4 dragon. Hand with no gaps.
4 dots.
We're going to go head to head with this player on the right. They're playing they're being
South
assertive with that early game exposure. So we're going to try to keep up or jump ahead if we can.
6 bamboos.
Okay, now there's an option.
5 bamboos.
So I'd say that we're a front runner now.
1 bamboo.
We have 2 discards. Nobody wanted the 5, so it's likely not going to be joker
3
bait. So I
bamboos.
wouldn't be focused on that.
9 characters. 9 dots. 8 characters.
So it'll be interesting to see what they're doing. We're going to watch their discards.
West wind.
They have an 8 and a 9 in front of them. So my guess is they're doing either,
West wind.
let's say 5, 7, 9.
2 bamboos.
Let's see, maybe 5 dot, 7 dot with 7 crack, 9 crack,
8
5, 7, 9
characters.
big odds with these discards here. Or they could be doing consecutive
4
5
dots.
through 5, 6, 7, 4, 5, 6,
1
7.
character.
So either, let's see if they
9
take this.
bamboos.
No hesitation.
Flower.
5, 7, 7, 9. We're going to pass. Maybe they're playing big odds in cracks and dots. They could have been in
Green
between
dragon.
consecutive run and big odds.
North wind.
If a 7, 9 and cracks go down, we'll know.
West
Or a 5,
wind.
5 dot.
1 bamboo.
Maybe we should swap out the
7
5 bam.
bamboos.
Okay, there's a hesitation on the 7 bam. Maybe they're doing 5, 7, 7, 9 and dots and bams.
4 dots.
7, 9 and bams. Let's let that
5
go.
bamboos.
Nobody wanted it.
7 dots.
Oh, they got their joker.
7 bamboos.
And they threw a 7 bam. Now that 2 7 bams are out, they might have been playing like numbers with 7s and switched to big
7
odds.
characters.
Here's the tile.
Mahjong.
There it is. 6, 7, 6, 7. I thought maybe they were doing, I knew they had the 7 crack in there. I thought they were doing 5, 7, 7, 9, but they had a well-developed hand. That's why that exposure in the begin game was such a big red flag, because look how well-developed their hand was. Over here, we have the 8, 9 of some kind, maybe the pair hand. Over here, this is the player who kept the 1, 1, 2 dragon. And then, oops, I think I clicked play again. Oh no, auto pass. Oh no, I guess that's okay. All right, here we go. All right, next game. Hopefully we'll get to play at least one more hand, maybe 2. Okay, we have a pair of 4 bams and a pair of 6s. So maybe we can play 2, 4, 6, 8 of some kind. We could also maybe leverage the east somehow. So let's pass these 3. Oh, Riley's yeah, that's Riley. I think he's excited because Dave is home. His person. Dave is his person. So he gets very excited when Dave gets home. And it's his birthday today. Not Riley, Dave. It's Dave's birthday today. All right, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 4, 5, 6 maybe. Let's see what comes in. We did not get any evens, but we did get 2, 3, 4 mixed suit Kongs there. I would probably break these up at the moment. So we have 2, 3, 4, no gaps. We have no, let's see here, 8 dot. 4, I would love to get a 5 dot. All right, here we go. Here's 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, unless we get a 5 dot. 2, 3, 4 mixed suit Kongs. We got a flower. Wow. That is really generous. Here's a red dragon. All right. We don't need a red dragon. Okay, now let's let the wind go. We're going first left. We need to make a choice. Let's let the 6 go and focus on 2, 3, 4. Part of me wants to play winds because they're going around. We might be able to gather. Let's see. Here's a 1, 8 north. All right. We definitely want to keep going. We have north and south with 2, 3, 4. That is not helpful. 2, 3, 4 Kong with a pair of flowers. We have a dragon and a 2 and an east. All right. 2 dot. The dragon can go. The 3 can go. The north can go. Part of me wants to play that 5th hand down under winds, but unless we get a whole bunch of winds in the next 2 passes. Oh, shoot. We were supposed to keep that 3 dot. I just passed the wrong one. All right. I made a mistake. That's all right. We can recover. Let's see here. Let's keep the east. We'll pass the 2. Maybe the 3 dot will come back. Or we could play news 5th hand down with flowers, which is kind of what I want to do anyway. We have a gap though, no west. But winds have been going around. So we're kind of collecting winds on the backside. There's the east with a 6, 7. East 4, 5, 6, 7. Maybe that 2 can go. Maybe even with the wind. They want 2 though. Okay, we can pass 2. We have a 4 bam pair. Maybe we can force a quint. East with 4s. We got the west. Okay. So I'm thinking really news.
North wind.
News with flowers probably. We're going to pass. Or maybe we can
7
do
bamboo.
maybe we can do a quint with east.
East wind.
Oh no, let's pass. We don't even really know what we're playing yet.
6
Probably
bamboo.
news with flowers. In which case we don't need the east.
5
I would say that
dots.
we're probably
1 character.
a contender because we have joker bait and a hand with no gaps. 3 discards and joker bait. That would make us a
8
contender.
characters.
So basically we're playing news with flowers. We could maybe even keep that east for a while. Oh, look. Oh my goodness.
1 character.
Now we're back to maybe doing that quint. Let's just see what happens. East with 4s, although we would need a joker for the east. I'd say that was that would be a long shot. For that west, we can pass for now. No, let's pung.
Hung.
We have a hand with no gaps. We should go for it.
2 dots.
We're going to expedite. Quicken. We're going to quicken it.
2 dots.
Okay, so we'll just hold the east for a bit. We have a pair of 4s.
9
I
bamboos.
suppose we could potentially play east and west with a run, but we don't have our other tiles to go with the 4. So I think that would be the long shot. News
6
with
characters.
flowers. We need souths and flowers or jokers. We got a north.
4 characters.
We could also maybe play news in all wins, news, the first hand. Winds and Dragons 1-1.
Joker.
Oh boy, there's a red flag. Joker.
9
Joker in
dots.
the begin game. That's a red flag.
7 bamboos.
That means that they're probably playing a pair hand.
2 bamboos.
So we want to ditch your tiles for sure,
1 dot.
because we don't know what they're doing there. If they're playing
2
a pair hand,
characters.
your tiles go down.
6 characters.
Oh, there's 2, 3, 4.
3 bamboos.
I was thinking east and west with a run, but they're trickling
4
in.
dots.
They're just trickling in here.
West wind.
I think Riley pooped.
Green dragon.
I can't do anything about it.
9 characters.
The show must go on. Even though it smells really stinky in here.
9 dots.
Oh, goodness.
8 dots.
Oh. I kind of wish Dave were here because he would help me with that challenge. Oh, goodness.
6 dots.
This little dog.
5 characters.
We love him, but oh my goodness. Another 2.
2 bamboos.
Shoot.
1 dot.
Okay, we're looking for south and flowers
7 dots.
for news. 4th hand down.
7
probably.
bamboos.
We could play the first hand though too. There's a flower. That's
4
helpful.
bamboos.
All right, now we can Kong. We have an extra east and an extra
characters.
north. So we're at
Green
65
dragon.
tiles. If we play the first
7
news hand,
characters.
we're going to need to let these flowers go. There's a
4
south.
bamboos.
All right, now
7 dots.
how many? There's 1 north out. Somebody else
Flower.
may be playing. Okay, let's go ahead and Kong. We might as well.
Kong.
It's a pure Kong.
East wind.
No hesitation on the east.
4 bamboos.
All right, we need 1 good pick and we'll be ready to win.
Flower.
We need a joker or a south.
1 bamboo.
We have an extra north.
Red dragon.
There's 1 north out. I do wonder if somebody else is playing wins. Could be news concealed.
9 dots.
2 east out. We have 2. And then there's the
6
pung.
dots.
So if anyone's playing news concealed, they're not
5
going to make
dots.
it. Even if they're playing news with a
7
year hand, they're not going to
characters.
make it because we have a pair of east. And anyone who sees
8
our exposures
characters.
will be able to know that. If we're throwing, if we have a pung of east and a Kong of flowers and we
Flower.
discard an east,
Red
that means
dragon.
we already have our pair. So
7
that would be a
dots.
big red flag for them if they're
2
playing that kind of
dots.
a hand. I wondered if the player on our right was playing a year hand, but they might have given up on
6
it.
characters. North wind.
Okay, interesting.
North wind.
We only need 1.
6 dots. 5 characters.
All right, come on now. We need a south or a joker.
1 bamboo.
Of course, everybody knows what we're doing. 1 dot, 2 are out.
West wind. 5 dots.
Maybe someone's playing north and south, or maybe a quint with
5
souths.
dots.
No souths are out yet.
1 bamboo.
Okay, 9 bam, 1 is out.
9 bamboo.
Uh-oh. Our neighbor is landscaping. Sorry about the noise. Can you guys hear that? They're landscaping.
1 bamboo.
I don't know why they decide to landscape at 6 o'clock in the evening. This is the dinner hour.
1 dot.
Okay, now that's a good discard.
Red dragon.
Oh, white dragon. Uh-oh.
White
We're playing to
dragon.
win here. We have 1 discard. Oh man, that was risky.
3 dots.
We're 1 away from ready though, so I
Oh.
would risk. I'm taking risk
9
here.
characters.
We need 1 good pick, south or joker. We haven't gotten a joker yet. 4 crack, none are out.
4 characters.
Oh no, it's right here. Why did it say none were out?
7 dots.
Okay, this 3. It's
3
available.
characters.
That 3 dot is available.
4 characters.
3 dot. 5 crack. 2 are out.
5 characters.
All right, come on now. We need a good pick in here.
Green dragon. 9 characters.
Oh, someone playing. Oh no, that was just discarded right there.
8 characters.
All right, come on. We need a keeper now. Joker, south. 3 dot. 9 dot. It's out.
9 dots.
Okay, we have
South
5
wind.
more. Oh, darn. All right, now, if anyone with a south, they're going to have
2
an out.
characters.
There's still 1 more. So hopefully we'll get a joker. We're supposed to get 1.6
Red
jokers.
dragon.
We still have potential to get a joker here.
9
We have 4 more
bamboos.
picks and 1 discard, so we should play to win.
6 bamboos.
These other 2 players, we have no idea what they're doing. I haven't really been following their discards. Player to the
6
right, I think they were
bamboos.
playing a year hand. They're not playing consecutive with
Green
big
dragon.
tiles. I know that. Let's see, 7. 2 are out.
7
The
characters.
player across from us.
6 bamboos.
Maybe evens.
2 characters. 4 dots.
Come on now. Here we go.
3 dots.
We do have a potential there to give them
1
a
dot.
winning, a pure hand, but we're ready to win now.
7 characters.
Hopefully someone will throw us south thinking we're not ready,
6 characters.
but it would be very risky.
Two bamboos.
This is risky.
5 bamboos.
Only 1 is out. But we're ready to win.
White dragon.
They threw us south before.
4 dots.
1 more pick.
Joker.
Uh-oh. No, we're gonna fold. This 2 crack, none
Joker.
are out. There are no 2 cracks out.
6 dots.
And I doubt anyone's gonna throw us south.
Joker. White dragon.
Okay. Where's the 2 crack? Oh, there were 3 out. When I hovered over it, it said 0. But anyway, it doesn't matter because this player had our south. They folded. They folded there. Here went up. Odds concealed. Odds concealed. I thought maybe they were playing a year hand. over here, like numbers with threes, maybe a year hand. So someone was playing a year hand. This player evens. I thought they were playing evens. And yes, they were playing evens. All right. I think that's going to do it for this live stream. Thank you so much for being here for this nitty-gritty primetime Let's Play live stream where we talked about strategy by wall. Lots of really good tactics. So if you missed the first, I think we did an hour presentation on strategy by wall. So there's some really great tactics in there. Rewatch the repost if you missed it, and if you have any questions, write your comments in the section below the video or send me an email. You can also join me on Facebook where we carry on conversations about strategies and rules. And then we'll be back again next Monday for another doubleheader nitty-gritty Let's Play live stream. Thank you, moderators, for being here to help moderate the chat. And if you have subscribed to my channel, thank you so much for subscribing. Make sure you click the little gray bell because that way you'll get notification for when I post new videos. Does anybody have any questions? If not, oh, you're welcome. It's my pleasure. Thank you, JL. Thank you. I need to get ready for dinner here. I don't know if he's here or not, but yes, we're going to celebrate. So thank you so very much. We'll see you again on Friday night for Simply Social Let's Play live stream. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, consider subscribing. Click the little gray bell if you do. That way you'll get notification for when I post new videos, and you won't miss an opportunity to learn a new strategy or pick up an insight to the game that could give you an advantage at the table. Between now and the next video, may all your picks be keepers.